Ethnic unity law.
Ethnic unity law.
Ethnic unity.
In recent weeks, international media have reported extensively on China's new law concerning language use. Headlines often suggest that this legislation is designed to suppress ethnic minorities. In this video, we'll carefully examine what the law actually says, how it is being portrayed abroad, and what the broader context is. Our goal is to approach this with neutrality, relying on official text and factual analysis before considering how narratives are being shaped. Western newspapers and television channels have presented the law as a threat to cultural diversity. Reports highlight language such as Uyghur, Tibetan, and Mongolian, and argue that these communities are losing space on their native tongues. The narrative presented is straightforward: language policy equals suppression. This framing is powerful because it resonates with broader concerns about minority rights and cultural preservation. Before accepting this interpretation, it is important to pause and examine the official articles of the law itself. Only then we can compare the text with the way it is being discussed abroad. China's linguistic landscape is highly diverse. Western media often present the picture that there is a single majority who all speak one language, Chinese. In reality, the situation is far more complex. Officially, there are 56 recognized ethnic groups, with the Han being by far the largest, over 91% of the population, about 1.2 billion people, according to the 2020 census. Whether you look at the Netherlands, the United States, Malaysia, or Canada, most overseas Chinese communities are overwhelmingly Han. Because of this, in many non-Asian countries, the Han are simply seen as the Chinese, even though they are only one of the 56 groups. Within the Han themselves, however, there's an enormous linguistic diversity. Depending on definition, more than 2,000 dialects are spoken, including Cantonese, Shanghainese, Hokkien, and Sichuanese. For many Han, Mandarin was also introduced as a second language in school, just as minority students learned it alongside their native tongues. This shows how the pressure to standardize through Mandarin has been a nationwide experience, affecting almost everyone in China, not only ethnic minorities. The legislation is called the Law on the Promotion of Ethnic Unity and Progress, adopted by the National People's Congress in March 2026. Hereby the translation of Article 15. The state shall comprehensively promote and popularize the national common spoken and written language. No organization or individual may obstruct citizens from learning and using the national common spoken and written language. School and other educational institutions shall use the national common spoken and written language as the basic medium of instruction. The state shall encourage preschool children to learn Putonghua and ensure the adolescent completing compulsory education can basically master the national common spoken and written language. State organs shall use the national common spoken and written language as the official working language and script, where, in accordance with relevant laws, documents must be issued in minority languages. Versions in both the national common spoken and written language and the minority language shall be provided simultaneously. When state organs, social organizations, enterprises, institutions, or other social organizations are required to use both the national common spoken and written language and minority languages in public settings, the national common spoken and written language shall be given prominence in position and order. The state shall respect and safeguard the learning and use of minority languages and scripts, promote their standardization, normalization, and informatization, and support the protection, collation, research, and utilization of ancient minority texts. Mandarin is prioritized as the common language. However, the text does not prohibit minority languages. They remain permitted, but not as the primary medium in education or official communication. It is important to note that Article 4 of the Chinese Constitution, which guarantees ethnic groups the freedom to use their own languages, remains unchanged. The new law therefore operates within an existing constitutional framework that formally protects linguistic diversity. To understand why this change was introduced, we need to look at the education system. In certain regions, schools relied heavily on local languages as the main medium of instruction. While this preserved cultural identity, it also created challenges. 1. Students often struggled when applying to universities in other parts of China because their Mandarin proficiency was insufficient. 2. This limited career opportunities since Mandarin is the language of national business, administration, and higher education. 3. It reinforced regional divides, where minority students had fewer chances compared to peers from Han areas. For example, a student educated primarily in Tibetan or Mongolian might excel locally, but face difficulties when taking national entrance exams or attending universities in Beijing or Shanghai. Employers in major cities often expect fluent Mandarin, which places these students at a disadvantage. The new law seeks to address these inequalities by ensuring that all children, regardless of background, receive education in Mandarin. Minority languages can still be taught, but Mandarin must form the foundation. The intention is to create equal access to higher education and employment across the country. This approach reflects a broader principle. Language policy is not only about culture, but also about economic opportunity and social mobility. This approach is not unique to China. Singapore provides a useful comparison. The country recognizes 4 official languages: English, Chinese, Malay, and Tamil. Yet English was chosen as the lingua franca. By elevating English above the others in education and administration, Singapore ensured that all citizens had equal access to national life. At the same time, mother tongues were preserved. Students in Singapore learned the ethnic language alongside English. Chinese students study Mandarin, Malay students study Malay, and Indian students study Tamil. But English is the bridge that connects everyone. In fact, Singapore went even further in 1979 with the Speak Mandarin campaign. The government actively encouraged its Chinese population to abandon dialects such as Hokkien and Cantonese in favor of Mandarin in order to strengthen unity and modernize communication. This provides a striking parallel to China's current emphasis on Mandarin among Han dialect speakers. China's policy with Mandarin follows a similar logic, establishing a common language for unity and opportunity, while still allowing minority languages to exist in supplementary roles. Language standardization is a common feature of multi-ethnic states. Indonesia elevated Bahasa Indonesia as a national language to unify hundreds of local dialects. India uses Hindi and English as national working languages, despite dozens of regional tongues. In each case, the goal is not necessarily to erase diversity, but to ensure that citizens can communicate across regions and participate equally in national institutions. China's law fits within this global pattern. When we compare official text of the law with the way it's presented in international media, a gap becomes visible. The law itself focuses on standardizing Mandarin for education, government, and public communication. Minority languages are not banned, but they are secondary. International coverage often frames this as suppression. That framing highlights real concerns about cultural preservation, but it also simplifies the issue into a single narrative. A more nuanced view recognizes both sides. The law strengthens Mandarin as a national standard, and at the same time, it reshapes the role of minority languages in education and society. By looking directly at the official articles, and by considering examples such as Singapore, we can see that this is less about erasing diversity and more about ensuring a shared linguistic foundation across a multi-ethnic state. Some observers worry that this could eventually lead to the erosion of minority languages. At present, the law does not ban them, but their role is clearly secondary. How this balance will evolve in the future remains to be seen.